Good Wednesday morning. It is June 4th, and it is time for the Weather Desk. It's today's top weather headlines. I'm 13 News Now meteorologist Craig Moeller. We broadcast from Southeast Virginia out of our studios here in Norfolk, serving Virginia Beach, Hampton, Newport News, all of Hampton Roads, as well as Northeast North Carolina. Again, we do this every Monday through Friday right here on 13 News Now Plus, and we're going to get into our headlines today. These are the top things we're going to be discussing. Then we do have a lot to go through as we get into this next half hour. First of all, severe storms rock the Central U.S. Parts of Missouri hit hard. We'll show you some storm damage and talk about who's next in line to deal with strong to potentially severe storms. Our next topics include a tropical update. We've got some good news for those of you in the Southeast U.S. and here in the Mid-Atlantic that were maybe a little concerned with something the Hurricane Center had identified yesterday. The threat of tropical development is down a little bit, but there's still something we're going to be watching. I think it is going to bring some heavier rain to parts of the area, and that may not be a bad thing. I'll explain. We're also watching Saharan dust. We had a plume come all the way across the ocean and reach parts of the U.S. I'll show you what is forecast to happen over the coming days. And we've got an update on the Canadian wildfires and where the smoke is headed. We've had some haze right here in Hampton Roads, all the way down through Virginia, kind of a veil of sun with some of that smoke in the upper levels of the atmosphere. And then I think this is really going to be a topic a lot of folks will be interested to hear more on. Ginger Z's done a story kind of discussing the complexity of talking about climate change and really reporting on climate change. Now, I got to tell you, there's a lot of information that is thrown out, especially through social media. There's some misinformation. A lot of people have different agendas they're trying to push. You know, if they can just drive home this point or drive home that point, they try to attribute everything to human activity. That's not always the case. Sometimes it's human, sometimes there's natural cycles. It's just a really interesting look on the challenges and what you as a news consumer want to be mindful of whenever you hear about some of these different stories with climate change. So really good stuff if you can plan to stay with us over the next 25 minutes or so. Let's start off by looking at what was going on back across the Central U.S. We're going to talk about this unsettled weather down around Florida. This is what the Hurricane Center was watching. And again, we'll get into it. But I want to focus right off the bat on some of these storms that were really rolling. Look at that line of intense thunderstorms yesterday. During the early part of the afternoon, they erupted around the Kansas City metro area. Right there, that was the line that produced a lot of wind damage there. You can see some stronger storms down through Texas as well for a while. Those severe thunderstorms swept across Missouri yesterday, bringing strong winds, heavy rain, and reports of storm damage for many communities. In Raytown, that's Raytown, Missouri, a tornado had the sirens blaring as a fast-moving system ripped through the area at the Jackson County Sports Complex, and this is near Kansas City. Debris blew around Kauffman Stadium parking lot, and there were reports of an overturned semi-truck on the interstate near the stadium. That's I-70. So no injuries have been reported, but officials are still assessing the full extent of the damage, and the National Weather Service is also going to assess the damage to confirm the size of that potential tornado. KMBC, our affiliate station in Kansas City, was live in Independence where a large tree crashed onto a home. Let's take a look.
Now, the homeowners were not home when this tree hit the house. So the son of the homeowners is actually on the roof right now. He's tarping a hole. When the tree came down, it left a hole, of course, so they're tarping that up. But he says, thank God his parents were not home. He said that there were dogs in the house, but they have got those dogs out. But that just goes to show you how high these winds were. He says that they're starting the process. He says, you know what, there's no time to wait. So they started already to clean it up. They were on the roof getting some of the branches off, and now they're tarping it up. And he says now he has to go through the process of calling the insurance and everything else. But even when we were driving, we saw down trees, we saw flooded roads. This storm really hit this area, and it just, goes to show you to stay off of the roads.
Now, we'll take a look at some of the storm damage reports. Again, this is Independence, where you saw some of that video. We talked about Kauffman Stadium, and you think about Kauffman, where the Royals play, and then you've got Arrowhead is right there alongside Kauffman. Arrowhead, where, of course, the Chiefs play. So that's right along Interstate 70. You can see it when you're driving that way towards Kansas City from St. Louis, driving westbound. You look over, and those stadiums are just to the south of the interstate. So a lot of damage back there with trees down, multiple reports of trees snapped, and possible tornadoes that the National Weather Service will be investigating. That was all part of that line that came through. And again, you see all of those damage reports, lots of trees down, excessive winds reported. It was just a tremendous system that went through. That was yesterday. Now we're going to take a look at what is going to happen today. And a lot of folks may be wondering, okay, we still have showers out there. Will it be as bad? Yesterday, you remember there was that level 2 risk for those storms. Today, there's just a level 1 or marginal threat from the Great Lakes region back down through the northern Ohio River Valley and back over through the mid-Mississippi Valley and then all the way down to East Texas. The one area that is under the slight risk of level 2, that's over the panhandle of Texas and back into eastern New Mexico. So you see some of the areas from Amarillo back through Clovis, areas just off to the east of Santa Fe under that slight risk or level 2. And again, this is the area. It's not a tremendous threat for tornadoes, but there's a little elevated threat for an isolated tornado or two in that part of the country. You also have the hail threat there. You'll notice other parts of the country that are under that kind of marginal or level 1 threat. They're not as concerned with hail in these areas. But of course, you still want to watch those thunderstorms, as some of them could be a little bit stronger. This area also under the gun for strong winds. They've kind of got that level 2 kind of designation for the stronger wind gusts in excess of 55 to 60 miles per hour. You also have some potential for those strong winds along that line that is pushing east. That's going to impact areas from St. Louis through southern Illinois, back around Indianapolis up towards Detroit, Cleveland kind of on the edge there. And that line runs all the way through Arkansas and back down towards areas out west of Houston and just east of Dallas. So that's the outlook for strong winds today. Now, the flood potential is greater back across parts of Missouri from central and eastern portions of St. Louis, south central Missouri, back across the metro area in St. Louis and southern Illinois. We also have an elevated risk for excessive rainfall or flash flooding from around Vegas back over northern Arizona and into southern Utah. One note that I will make on that flood potential in that part of the country, before coming to Hampton Roads here, where I am now in Southeast Virginia, back in 1997, I worked in Salt Lake City. And in Salt Lake City, our area, our ADI, or our television market, was huge. It included all of Utah, parts of Wyoming. We were down into the northern tier of Arizona and back across Nevada. It's a massive, massive television market. I can tell you from my time back there covering, you get any heavy rain in some of these areas where you've got some narrows and you've got some, desert area down there and some mountains, you can have some flash flooding issues. So we will be watching for that across southern parts of Utah and northern Arizona, that flood potential. Back across the southeast, a little elevated risk for the Carolinas and right along the South Carolina coast as well. That's for today. Now, tomorrow, the severe weather threat shifts a little farther to the east. You can see all the way up through Maine and New Hampshire, Vermont, New York State, western parts of Pennsylvania, back across the Ohio River Valley, a little bit lower into the Mississippi Valley, and then back across Oklahoma, southern Kansas, and Texas. We have that slight risk or level 2, and you've got a little bit greater threat now for potential tornadic development. So we could see a few tornadoes popping up from the panhandles all the way up into southwest Kansas. As we take a look, that does include Dodge City, back down through Amarillo and Lubbock. As you take a look, that hail potential there as well. Just to give you one more look, I mentioned Dodge City in that area, back over towards Guyman and Lamar, out towards Woodward, Oklahoma. So those areas have the potential for some larger hail. When you see those hash lines, it means there could be 2-inch or greater diameter hail. Those are large hailstones. Wind, that's also a greater risk from southern Kansas down through Oklahoma and Texas. And there's just general gusty winds associated with the storms that extend farther to the east. Now, the flood potential greatest back across southern Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas. But I do want to mention, since we do serve southeast Virginia and northeast North Carolina, we do have a level 1 threat for excessive rainfall. This is for Thursday, and it's going to come for the southeast part of Virginia Thursday afternoon and into the evening. For northeast North Carolina, it'll get started earlier. And I got to tell you, the rain that occurs down here, that's not necessarily a bad thing. They've been in moderate to severe drought across parts of northeast North Carolina, especially down around the Albemarle Sound. So a little bit of tropical moisture coming in, a little heavier rain in this area, maybe not a bad thing. You don't want to get too much at once, but with just that level 1 threat for excessive rainfall, a nice soaking rain would actually be of some benefit over parts of eastern North Carolina. For Hampton Roads, this does include the south side and all the way up to basically the James River. We've got the chances for that, just a level 1 threat, and it runs out through Emporia, and then again it kind of slopes back into North Carolina and then areas down to the south. So I wanted to talk about that. Now, the third day outlook for severe weather, we've got a slight risk. This is a larger area here. Kind of looks a little bit like a dog bone, doesn't it? Anyway, you can see the slight risk from southeast parts of Colorado, the panhandles, Oklahoma, Texas, across Oklahoma, much of Arkansas, really the northern 2/3 of Arkansas, southern tier of Missouri, most of Kentucky, Tennessee, and northwest Georgia, northern Alabama, and northern Mississippi, all under the level 2 or slight risk for severe weather. The level 1 threat still out to the west. That's through Friday. I think we're going to see chances for storms here in Hampton Roads later Saturday when the front comes through. So here's the future cast. You can see again the line of storms working back to the east. Chances for storms there. There's that potential for heavier storms back around the panhandles and back out to the west of that a little bit earlier. So we're going to be watching for that. Also that heavier rain with that low pressure kind of moving up into the Carolinas. As we get into the midday Thursday, parts of North Carolina getting heavy rain there. Some rain starting to push up towards southeast Virginia. Scattered showers from the northeast U.S. back down through the Ohio River Valley, and still some heavy cells back across North Texas. As we look ahead to Thursday evening, you see more storms breaking out here, more heavy storms down across Texas, and there's that next batch, that next potential for strong to severe storms Thursday night into early Friday across Oklahoma. Looking into Friday afternoon, we're better along the East Coast, a little bit of a break. That system that we're watching maybe kind of interacting with the coast a little bit pulls away. Scattered heavy areas of rain back across southeast Missouri into western Tennessee. Some more activity popping up over Colorado with yet another round coming in Friday evening into southwest Kansas and the panhandles back into West Texas as well, with pockets of intense rainfall across West Virginia into Ohio and Kentucky, back down across Georgia and Alabama. A lot to keep an eye on over the coming days, and we'll be doing that for you here at 13 News Now. Now it's time for the tropical update, and again, that good news on the southeast coastline system. This area really just clusters of intense rain. It was never really well organized at all, just kind of a broad area of lower pressure. The thinking was that it was going to stay offshore initially. Hurricane Center was only giving this a 10% chance, but now the models are really having it interact more with South Carolina coast and maybe moving over land before coming back out that area of lower pressure. And with the low over land, it's not drawing the moisture and the warm sea surface, back up into it. It's not providing that energy. It's over land. So it's really lowered and pretty much taken away the chances for tropical or subtropical development. If it moves over land, it's not going to be a tropical system. Still an area of low pressure, and I still think there will be some areas of significant rain for the southeast. It'll move out. But this was never really a great threat, and now the Hurricane Center has taken it down to 0. So you can see with our updated model here, this is the future cast with the European. Never really closes a low, like over water right here. You're going to see it develop here and then exit off. So there it goes. Again, you can see that low pressure tracking right here, and off it'll go. Again, not really closing off, not really coming all the way around with intensity, but rather, the moisture is going to be on the east and the south side of that. And as it pulls away, again, that low will move away and it's going to take the rain with it. A break comes for our area Friday night into Saturday, or I should say Friday afternoon into Saturday. And then late Saturday, that next batch of wet weather moves in. And I'll talk more about that and those impacts on our weather we expect for the HarborFest weekend in Norfolk. Now, as we take a look at the Eastern Pacific, different story. While the Hurricane Center took this area and said, we're going to take it from 10% to 0% development, this area we've seen go from 50% to 70% this morning, and the latest now showing signs of development up to 80%. So 10% in the next couple of days, 80% within the next 3 to 7 days. Now, I will say this is a little different than Alvin. Last week, Alvin came in and went right up around Cabo San Lucas. This is forecast to stay farther off to the west, away from land, and it should eventually, it will eventually weaken as it moves over some cooler water, kind of gets out of this super favorable area for development. So we'll look for this to intensify, and then it should continue off to the west-northwest and hopefully provide very little impact to too many folks there. Now, I will tell you, if this thing develops and takes a name, it will be Barbara. That is the second name in the Eastern Pacific list. All right, we're talking now about a thick plume of Saharan dust that has worked across the Atlantic and is now coming into the southeast. 2,000 miles from Jamaica to well past Barbados and the Eastern Caribbean. Those islands tend to see more of an impact with more concentration than can actually block out the sun a little bit at times. Is that crazy? The hazy skies can trigger sneezes, coughs, and watery eyes, so officials are warning that those with allergies, asthma, and other conditions should remain indoors or wear face masks when they're outdoors.
The fact that the dust travels all the way here from Africa and affects us so heavily is absolutely crazy because the distance between Barbados and Africa is vast.
Well, it's pretty hard to manage since, it's in the atmosphere, but definitely we've been taking medication like, antihistamines, Claritin, that sort of thing. Just basically doing, that's what we can do.
All right, so the plume is expected to reach parts of the southeastern U.S., as I mentioned, this week and into the weekend. But plumes lose most of their concentration in the eastern Caribbean. Let's take a look at the plume forecast here again. Saharan dust, it comes off from the Sahara Desert, comes across the Atlantic, and sometimes some of those concentrations can be pretty intense. That's what we're looking at. You can see again from Jamaica back across Cuba up to South Florida, the Keys, back around the Bahamas. And as we take you forward in time, some of this kind of working back up towards the southeast U.S. coast. And again, eventually it kind of thins out a little bit, but you still have some of those concentrations back here through Friday morning, eventually into Saturday afternoon, it really thins out. Now we look back across and say, is there anything more coming? We've got a little more intensity with some of that dust coming off, but you'll notice as we go into next week, maybe a little bit more starts to come off the coast there, and we'll catch a break back on this side of the Atlantic, so things will get better. Now we're going to turn our attention from dust to thick smoke from wildfires burning across western Canada. They drifted into the U.S. They have been for the past few days, but we were really capturing some of those images yesterday. And there was an impact on the air quality in Minneapolis to unhealthy levels. The city ranked among the worst in the world for air quality with an AQI reading of 168. That's the air quality index. So 168. Lower levels of smoke are forecast to reach New York, Philly, back down through Boston in the coming days. And health officials are warning residents, especially those with heart or lung conditions, to limit their outdoor activity.
In general, when we think about hazardous air quality, we're talking about gases like ozone, which we know can cause respiratory problems, especially in people who have asthma or in young children where their lungs are still developing. If air quality is bad and you're exposed to either very hazardous air for a short period of time or even moderately bad air for a very long period of time, that can have a correlation with mortality.
Now, in order to figure out which areas are going to be hit the worst, you can use the AirNow app on your phone, which comes from the EPA, used to track how the smoke is traveling and which areas are being hit the hardest. We're going to take a quick look at the smoke forecast. And again, we've seen some smoke here as well, but the heavier concentrations have been out to the west. And then once you get up into Minnesota, yesterday it was terrible. Now it's shifted back across the upper peninsula of Michigan, Lake Superior. You can see back across Wisconsin, eastern Iowa. They are dealing with it, and they'll continue to see that smoke in some of these areas. Up the northern part of the lower peninsula of Michigan here, there's that front that is moving through. It's kind of interesting because on the backside with the north winds, that's why you're seeing some of this still kind of tracking down from the north. Chicago, they're going to be feeling it with concentrations eventually reaching Boston, New York as well. For our area, we're actually going to get a little bit of a break. So we have that to look forward to if you're in Southeast Virginia or Northeast North Carolina as we go Thursday night into Friday morning. Remember, this is where we're going to get the rain, and the rain will help cleanse the atmosphere here for our local viewers. Now, we just told you about that AirNow and the air quality index. This is some of the information that you can get. Take a look. Today, the air quality still unhealthy for sensitive groups to unhealthy across parts of Minnesota into Wisconsin, and again, the upper peninsula of Michigan. Many areas are experiencing moderate air quality. That is the case in Norfolk as well. As we pull the map a little bit wider here, great air quality in the northwest U.S. Some areas back in the central valleys of California with moderate air quality. Same thing, southern parts of Arizona, moderate air quality. East Texas, parts of Oklahoma, but much of the eastern U.S. with kind of moderate air quality. Some of that smoke just for days kind of coming down and mixing into the area. So a lot has been going on with the air quality, and we continue to watch all of that. Now, there's been some, attribute. We talk about the severe weather and some of the big changes that we've been experiencing from time to time. Things like wildfires that contribute to the smoke and the air quality. And a lot of talk about human-amplified climate change, okay? We know that there are some impacts on the weather, but should that information be included in all weathercasts? ABC's chief meteorologist and chief climate correspondent Ginger Zee debunks climate misinformation and why you may not be here or why you may not hear us all talk about all of these stories that come down in every forecast.
When it comes to climate change, most of the comments that I field on social media are questions around the science of climate change. But I also get accused of not covering climate change enough, like this email that I recently got. On this morning's broadcast, you highlighted an area in Oklahoma that was 300% of its yearly rain average, yet no mention of our climate. I'm just curious as to what it takes to even mention climate change. I'm going to be frank. Part of it is a time issue. We have sometimes less than a minute to discuss the headline weather that's dangerous or something that's going to actually impact a lot of people, so climate change doesn't always get in that hit. But we do discuss it when appropriate and when possible. And we can expect more of this because as our climate warms, we will see and already are seeing record high temperatures twice as often as we see record lows. But I have to make sure everyone knows no one event is solely caused by humans' impact on climate change. Much of Oklahoma saw more than a foot of rain for the month of April, but that was mostly due to a stuck jet stream. The position of the jet stream was in this blocking pattern. It would have happened whether we had greenhouse gas emissions or not. That said, we likely did add some percentage to the rainfall totals. It's true that human-amplified climate change often makes extremes more extreme, but I can't come on TV that last day of April and claim with confidence that we know how much yet in that particular event. See, it takes time to figure out what percent humans had to do with it, but there are tons of groups around the world that are doing climate change attribution. They study it, they make studies, and they provide information just often weeks, even months after the event. And the person who emailed me is right. There is something I can say about heavy rain every time. It's basic physics. According to NOAA, for every 1 degree Fahrenheit of warming, the atmosphere can hold 4% more moisture. And that raises the risk of triggering flash flooding. And according to the 5th National Climate Assessment, they showed that extreme rainfall events are becoming more intense and more frequent. On days where the most extreme rain falls, the Southern Plains, including Oklahoma, have seen a 21% increase in rain totals since the late 1950s. An analysis by Climate Central shows us that over the last 5.5 decades, hourly intensity of rainfall has increased in every region in the United States. And as a meteorologist, I do think that I have a unique ability to make climate science make sense. And I have 4 30-second hits a day, at least, to get that type of information out there. So I will keep trying to do my best to do just that.
Always appreciate Ginger's reports on this, and I know she's very passionate about it as well. Climate is absolutely changing, but you can't attribute everything to one thing or another. As Ginger mentioned in that story, there are some simple physics, like the amount of moisture the atmosphere can hold. When it's warmer, it can hold a little bit more. So none of the things that are happening are really a surprise when you consider the climate is changing, but we are seeing more things. And just know this, again, when you tune into a trusted news source, understand that we should all be just reporting the facts and kind of explaining things. There are sometimes folks that are pushing one narrative or another that'll really spin it hard one way. And the truth is there's still a lot of studying ongoing with all of this and how things are changing. So great reporting from Ginger there. And again, we'll keep you updated as we continue to see more and more. Right now, what we're seeing more and more of is that haze that's out there from the Canadian wildfires. This is over Town Point Park, and I bring up this Thompson Creek Window Company Skyview, not to just show you the lovely park, but this place is going to be absolutely jumping. You can see a few of the tents starting to go up. If you look closely between those trees, this weekend is Harbor Fest, and a lot of folks are going to be out there. Tens of thousands come out to the area to enjoy our harbor over the Harbor Fest weekend. I want to say it was like 200,000. I can't remember what the total number was for the weekend, but it's a lot of folks that come out, and it is a great time. There's a parade of sail. That's Friday at noon, and it looks like the weather's going to be okay. I expect rain showers in the morning on Friday, and then drier conditions as we head to the middle part of the day, right around noon. The afternoon and evening should be good. We've got the drone show set up to put on a show for the thousands and thousands of folks that come out to enjoy that. That's Friday. On Saturday, little different story. We start off dry, but later in the afternoon, showers and storms are going to be developing. Now, I'll tell you, we're going to have special live streaming coverage of Harbor Fest throughout the afternoon on Friday. I'll be out at Town Point Park talking with folks and showing you some of the different sites and things going on out there. You really want to check that out right here on 13 News Now Plus. So we'll do that on Friday afternoon. Saturday, when I'm back out there, I'm going to be out in the morning for the morning show, but then during the afternoon, bringing you more sights and sounds. I may also be doing some weather coverage out there if we do get some stronger storms during the afternoon or early evening, and that may be a threat to the fireworks displays. We do have a low risk of a shower on Sunday, but I think Sunday is going to be the best of the days. Well, Friday afternoon and potentially parts of Sunday, partly sunny with a lower risk of a shower on Sunday. Want to remind you, our UV index very high today. You can see that sunshine. Rip current threat is low. Great beach day, but you got to remember the sunscreen. Out on the water, both the bay and the ocean, the waves and the seas only running about 2 to 3 feet. Winds south to southeast 5 to 15, gusting to 20 knots. As you take a look at the forecast for the next 9 hours, you'll see the temperatures climbing into the mid-80s. We've got a great day, low humidity today, but building as we head through the weekend. So it's going to get stickier. Our rain chances going up later tomorrow, scattered storms, and then kind of up and down a little bit through the weekend, as I mentioned, early Friday. And then late Saturday, Sunday should be drier, some more typical summertime thunderstorms potentially Monday and Tuesday. We're clear right now. Our futurecast will continue to show you mostly sunny skies with clouds increasing later tonight. We'll see chances for showers down to the south in the morning tomorrow, but then eventually some scattered showers across Hampton Roads. Heavier concentrations likely over eastern North Carolina. They need it. Again, moderate to severe drought down around the Albemarle Sound. Notice by Friday morning, some showers winding down. The afternoon and evening look good for us here in Hampton Roads on Friday. Tree pollen's moderate, grass pollen is high, and as we take a look at the forecast today, temperatures low 80s near the coast, mid 80s inland. Plenty of sunshine, a few more clouds late afternoon. Down to the south, temperatures also low to mid 80s with upper 70s at the Outer Banks. Tonight's low 65, just a few more clouds rolling in, and tomorrow chances for rain. We're going to see them increasing from the south. Temperatures back in the low to mid 80s. After that, temperatures cooler on Friday, that morning rain chance, and then scattered storms later Saturday. On Sunday, the risk was lowered, but we may have to bump that back up depending on how the models handle things. We'll see on Sunday. I do expect some more scattered showers and storms Monday into Tuesday. Best thing you can do if you want to stay up on the weather and the developments is download our 13 News Now mobile app. You can scan a QR code that we'll put up on the screen for you, and that'll take you directly to our mobile app. And you download that, then you'll have access to our radars, all of our severe weather coverage, and anything else special you may need as far as information on breaking news. We've got all of that for you as well. So go to the 13 News Now app there. It's a mobile app. You'll find it at Google Play and also in the App Store. Check it out. There's that QR code you can scan. I want to thank you guys for taking some time with us this morning on the Weather Desk. Again, every day, Monday through Friday, starting at 9, we tackle today's top weather headlines. I always enjoy doing it. We've got a great producing staff behind the scenes, and I just want to thank them for all their support as well. I'll see you again tomorrow morning for more from the Weather Desk.